It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting if you just go to oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. You can go there and get a hold of me. Like the show, should be sure to check out our Patreon. Got a lot of new content up in Patreon. The Opperman Report Patreon. Best place to be. Best place in life. Just put up a brand new show about Everett Stern. Everett Stern's the third time he's coming back. In the past, we've talked about his lawsuit with Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn. And he was sued by Flynn for defamation. He brought it under his homeowners association, homeowners insurance, and they settled the lawsuit. He's being sued once again by Michael Flynn. I'm surprised I haven't been sued by Michael Flynn yet, but I guess he knows better. So what do you call it? And this time he plans to fight the lawsuit. We had him on, again, for various reasons. He's always involved in something. What was that other thing? Let's see if I can find in my notes here. My paper notes that I have. I have these big yellow legal pads that I use during interviews. He had some other thing that was going on. HPI Borelli. Nope. I did a lot of good shows lately. I taped a lot of good stuff. All the complaints, you'd think. There's some good stuff. Philip Eswalmo. What was that about? Oh, about a pardon. That they bought a pardon from Trump. Yeah. We talked about that too. But the biggest thing was this whole business about the FBI Director McConnell, who was just pled guilty this week to taking bribes from Oleg How do you pronounce that? I'm horrible with that. Oleg Deripaska. Oleg Deripaska. And you might know that name because who would talk about him all the time was Daniel Hopsicker. Would come on all the time. He's always checking into these Russian oligarch gangsters. And Oleg Deripaska was one of the ones that was high on the list of Hopsicker's list of enemies there, or people he was reporting on. So now, this is very important, okay, because during the time that McConnell was investigating Trump and Manafort and all these people for Russian interference and Russian collusion, he was being paid by one of the richest Russian oligarch gangsters that they got. Okay? Deripaska was also paying Paul Manafort $10 million a year to work on the Ukraine, politics over in Ukraine and stuff like that. So Deripaska is up to his neck, okay? And here you got, Deripaska has other business dealings with Trump too as well. There's a couple of incidents that came up where his plane was shadowing Trump's plane, and they were landed on airport tarmacs, landing strips, side by side during Trump's rallies and stuff like that. So there's a lot of connections between Deripaska and Trump. And here you have Deripaska paying off the FBI agent who's investigating Trump and Russians. You'd think that would be a bigger story, right? You'd think so. But no. They don't want to talk about that. All they talk about is that, McConnell was, taking money from a Russian oligarch, but they don't want to put the pieces together. Meanwhile, but the other side, the Republicans, the right-wing nuts, they're talking about all the time, well, the only one who got arrested for Russian interference was the man who was investigating Russian interference. Ho, 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 ho. Oh, God. I tell you, it's just the quality of information out there that people have and that is circulated has been so watered down. It's so diminished, and it's polluted with all kinds of Russian money and one thing, too, but the oligarch money, Epstein money, Mossad money. That we're in a situation right now where you can find the truth if you really look for it. You talk to the people. I did a lot of shows this week with people like Everett Stern. He can't go on Fox. He can't go on MSNBC because his story does not fit in with the cookie cutter Democrat or Republican talking points. Same thing with Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas, who was Rudy Giuliani's partner, they can't go places. That's why they come on me. It's not because I'm a nice guy. Clearly, I'm not a nice guy. So Everett Stern is there. By the way, too, let's get into this more of this Russian oligarch stuff, because there's a whole big story, too. We had, when Hoffenberg was on the show, he used to talk about how Epstein helped Trump make $50 million on a real estate deal. Now, that was with a different Russian oligarch. And that one, his name is Dmitry Rybolovich. Okay, and what happened there, that was a real shady deal. Both Epstein and Trump wanted this property. The property was in bankruptcy. And they wanted to buy this property for about $41 million. And Trump wound out getting the property, and Epstein lost out. And some people believe that's the reason for the falling out between Trump and Epstein. I believe it was over the matter of Trump wanting to sleep with married women and his friends' wives, which came out from Mr. Wolf there from Fire and Fury. I believe that's the accurate story. And that's all the same story that Epstein told, too, as well. But this other story is out there about they had a beef over this real estate transaction with this Russian oligarch, Dmitry Rybolovich. Okay, well, I'm pronouncing it wrong. And Trump bought the property out of bankruptcy for $41 million and then turned around and sold it to this Russian oligarch. And this was way back. What year was this? Let me see if I can look through the story here. Find out when this happened. Around 2002. Oh, no. I'd have to really look. I've been really, really sick this week. I got a splitting headache right now. Every single day, I've lost about 25 pounds in a very short period of time. Every single day, I've had a fever. I'm throwing up almost every night. I throw up almost every night now. And also, I had some other issues this week. So my health is really, really, really bad. And I got to tell you something, I talk about this every now and then. I talk about how, I don't have a lot of time left. And it really hurts my feelings when people come back and say to me, "Oh, Ed, you're feeling better." I'm not going to get better. Okay, I'm not getting better. Okay, so it really does. Leave that out. Okay, don't ask me how I'm feeling. If you're not paying attention to what I'm saying to you. Okay. So Trump buys this property from this guy going into bankruptcy for $40 million, and then he sells it to Dmitry. With this weird name, this other Russian oligarch here, for $90 million. $15 million over the highest priced property in Palm Beach. Okay? So this thing went for more than any other property, $15 million more than any other property in Palm Beach. So it appears to be some kind of a money laundering deal that went on here, that Epstein wanted to do the money laundering, and the Deripaska wanted to do the money. Deripaska, the other one, Dmitry, and Trump wanted to do the money laundering. So you can go back and find my interviews with Stephen Hoffenberg, who was Epstein's partner, a business partner, and he talks about that deal later. I would trust Hoffenberg over Vanity Fair and all this other crap. So that's the news with the Russian oligarchs this week. Okay. Let's see what else is in Patreon. We really could use your Patreon support here. We're getting toward the end of the month. There's a repeat there with the reality winner's mother, Billie Jean Winner. Now, I don't know why we have its title Reality Winner, but it's by Reality Winner's mother. Reality Winner can't do an interview. She wanted to do the interview with me, but she's under heavy supervised release from her incarceration there, in federal incarceration. And the terms of her supervised release are just draconian. She's not allowed to talk. She gets these drug tests like twice a week, man. It's just insane. Her crimes had nothing to do with drugs. If you don't know the Reality Winner story, there's a TV show you can watch it on. I think it's on Netflix or HBO. There's a couple of documentaries out there you can watch this story. We have another repeat. Melvin Dumar, the guy who claimed that he met Howard Hughes and Howard Hughes put him in his will. Did that interview about 10 years ago. And I got to tell you something, man. Melvin Dumar he's dead now. He passed away. He was living up in Utah when I was living in Las Vegas. And so I interviewed him about the thing. A very pleasant interview. And then we stayed in touch. We were friends on Facebook, and he would call me occasionally because he was working on different information to prove that he was telling the truth about Howard Hughes. And I helped him out with a couple of minor things. He had an FBI agent too helping him out. And we were able to confirm some things about the brothel where he picked Howard Hughes up from. I kind of believe his story. I don't think he's was a liar. Did an interview about H.P. Albarelli Jr., coup in Dallas, the decisive investigation into who killed JFK. I had H.P. Albarelli on the show about 10 years ago, too, and he told me about he's working on this book. We never could get him on while he was still alive. We have a friend and researcher and co-author of his who came on the show with us. A lot of good information there in that story. It's about this fellow, Pierre Lafitte, I think his name is, and he had a address book or a phone book. I think it was a date book, I think it was, that all kind of information about Lee Harvey Oswald and different conspirators to the JFK assassination. And, Albarelli seemed to think it was his best work. We get into some stuff there about dating handwriting samples. I happen to have some background in that because the first PI office I worked in, hey, what's up, Ed? How are you, man? I'm still not sure that's you, Ed. Okay, I don't know what's going on in the chat room there. Good old Ed. The other Ed. Two Eds are better than one. Contacts me on some... Anyway. Ed's a handful sometimes. Okay. I love him, but he can be a handful. Because Ed, by the way, if this is the real Ed, it's not Reality Winner. I interviewed Reality Winner's mother. I believe her name is Billie Jean Winner, I believe. We'd have to do some research on that to come up with. Or maybe you can listen to the shows. You do these things for me? Oh, God. That's right. That's Coup in Dallas. He did the interview was about this guy Colson who jumped out a window. This connection to LSD and stuff like that. I'm working on some other shows related to all that right now in the background. Some fellow with a lot of information about Timothy Leary and this other agent that was around Leary with a lot of cases and stuff like that. And we're trying to get a hold of him. Another interview about the CIA, LSD, MK Ultra, stuff like that. There's a whole nother interview coming up. And then I found a guy who's an interesting guy. He was in the Cult of the Dead Cow, the hacker group back in the early 80s and 90s. And he was friends with Fred Gottbetter, who was my good friend in the Yippies. He was the New York Yippie spokesperson back in the 70s. Very good friends. Fred was my mentor in many ways and died tragically of a heroin overdose. And they were part of this thing called the Ibogaine Project, which was this natural hallucinogen you could use to break the addictions of heroin addiction. But the only problem is it would break the addiction, but then when you go back and use some heroin, if you use the same doses you were just recently taking, you would overdose. So a lot of people who use this wind up overdosing because they go back. But it is great for breaking the addiction of heroin, and it just needs to be, worked with, But there's a big thing called the Ibogaine Project on Staten Island. Fred Gottbetter. There's a lot of stories online. So I'm trying to get a hold of a friend of his. Professor Charles Derber, Dying for Capitalism, How Big Money Fuels Extinction and What We Can Do About It. Really enjoyed that interview with Professor Charles Derber. You could find that in our member at our Patreon, Opperman Report Patreon. Walter Herbst, it didn't start with JFK 2. Oswald's Different Heights. If you go to Patreon in there and you really look around, I got all the documents with the photos and the heights and the measurements and stuff like that. This JFK stuff can really get into minutia, but it was an enjoyable interview. Okay, hey, look, if an interview sucks, I'll tell you. Okay, if I do a crappy interview. It is, man. It is a handful. I love Ed Barnell. I love him. And I love Kat too in there too. Well, there are other guests in the chat room tonight. There's a beautiful Greek woman, and she gave me a gift. She just gave me a gift today of a day spa. These passes to go to a day spa near me over here in Florida. Very, very kind, beautiful woman. Thank you so much, Kat. God bless you and happy Merry Christmas there yourself. Hey, let's see what else going on here. Then the usual stuff, Doug Valentine's CIA Phoenix program. When I first interviewed Doug Valentine, he said that was the best interview he had ever done. He enjoyed it so much. So a lot of good stuff there in Patreon. Go back and check that out. And then tonight I will be playing live after this show here. Let's see how we're doing on time. 18 minutes in. We are 18 minutes in. I'm not going to cover everything. Okay. Tonight we'll be playing Anthony Feinstein, Moral Courage, 19 Profiles of Investigative Journalists. And if you've been paying attention, I've been talking about this book and this interview for a lot. Okay. It really moved me. Okay. It's about these whistleblowers and investigative journalists and what motivates them to go out and present information to the public. And he describes it as a moral courage. And especially if you buy the book, it's a beautiful coffee table book with great photography in it. And you can see the faces of these journalists. It's the same face I look when I look in the mirror every day. What motivates me? I don't know if it's courage or stupidity, but whatever it is, it's a misery that you can't live with. Dan Lawton, Above the Ground, a true story of the troubles in Northern Ireland. That's a great story, man. We have him. We're playing him tonight, too. Unless one of those, and maybe someone in the chat room can tell me, is a repeat. And if it is, if I've already played it, because it's hard for me to keep track of, if I've already played it, then I'll play Jamie Deluxe, which will be some Hollywood gossip and stuff like that. Okay. Let's take a look at the notes and try and get you some quality content here this evening. I'll turn my sound down here on the phone. His phone is off. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Jonathan Odie is that fellow down in Doral, Miami, who got into a shootout with the cops way back in 2017. Then there's the Trump Supreme Court stuff, and then the Epstein names being unsealed. Let's start with the Epstein names being unsealed. This is not a client list. God damn it. Okay. This is one of my beefs, man. There's so much misinformation and misreporting about this nonsense. They come up with this meme, this phrase, release the client list. How can Ghislaine Maxwell be convicted of providing sex trafficking and when there's no list of clients who she was provided them to? Who paid her? There's no testimony. Anybody paid her but Epstein. Okay, these young girls, these children were turned over to many men by Maxwell, by Sarah Gellar too, and also to who, by the way, they never got charged with anything. There's people out there, who did get paid by Epstein to be involved in this procurement ring here, and were never charged. Okay, and they're still out there, and that would be nice to see them charged. Now, there's between 150 and 170 names here that are associated with the litigation, the Virginia Giuffre litigation against Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation. That's the case we're talking about here. And about 150, 170 names were sealed. Now, and then there's 3 names that are not going to be unsealed. And people say, well, that's got to be Obama, Clinton, and Joe Biden. Well, no, we know one of the names. By the way, there's going to be no surprises in this, okay, for people that are really want to know what's going on. Because every day, this was talked about in the news. We know the names. One of the names is going to be Clinton. One of the names is going to be Bill Gates. We know these names. No big surprises coming out of this, guys. I don't know what you think you're getting here, okay, but a bunch of hype. And there's a lot of people who know exactly what I'm talking about, who know better, and they're going right along with this hype and this BS just for attention. I don't even know why. They got all the money in the world. But there's 3 names that aren't going to be unsealed, and one of them is because they were misidentified in the photo. The name they have is not the person in the photo. Why would we want to release that guy's name? There's names of victims that are not going to be revealed, survivors. Why would you want to know their names? By the way, I have a list of 150 names of survivors, okay, of this situation, or women that were involved with Epstein. Okay, and a lot of them are adult women. They were adult when they were involved with Epstein. Many of them went on to good careers in real estate, and was one in writing for a gossip, fashion type magazine. Many are nutritionists, massage therapists, real estate agents, and stuff like that. Some of them have gone on to decent lives without being involved in litigation. Okay. I was given out a list by Dan O'Hanks, 150 names. Okay, I didn't even have a chance with phone numbers and pictures. Okay, I didn't get a chance to go through them all. You know, I love the BS that's out there, man. You know, I just love the BS that's out there. People don't know what the hell they're talking about, man, with all this. And just get away with it, man, because people just love the little code words. Yeah, and people think, get this, man, people think that these 150 names are people that went to the island. Ooh, they went. The only thing that matters is going to the island. Well, that didn't seem to matter to Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, because they were going 25 minutes from their Palm Beach home over to the Royal Palms High School, and they were picking up kids from there. Then they were driving around their trailer parks in their Lamborghinis and their Ferraris, stalking these little kids over there. And I don't think they were taking these kids and popping them on a plane and taking them down to the Virgin Islands. I think they were taking them to Jeffrey Epstein's house 25 minutes away, which makes sense. We know there were 3 girls going there a day, but Butler tells us that. So all this nonsense about the island, drop the list, man. You know, unless you just want to live in a fantasy world. Which so much it is. You know, it's just pathetic, man. I get upset. I got upset last week, too, about the same topic. It's just nonsense out there with all this stuff. And hype. And it's all being promoted by the same guys. And it's all being promoted by the same guys that are on the Epstein side. Okay, that's what you got to remember, man. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, because I want to get to that story about the dancing bear and Jonathan Odie. P. Diddy and Avenatti and Mark Garagos. And Trump makes money from gas, which I believe is the Rosneft story. But well, let's wait for that for last. Because it's the most conspiracy theory-ish. Trump Supreme Court. Okay, oh my God. By the way, okay, I told you about a month ago that the Opperman report is possibly a time travel portal. If you look back into the portal in the past, we're back in the past now. Okay, and look up the show, Is Trump Incontinent to Stand Trial? I got a friend of mine that's down at that trial every day in New York State, the fraud case where Trump's own attorneys quit during the trial and testify that he's a fraud. Okay, and documents going back to 2011 are fraud and inaccurate because they were given bogus information. Now, you hardly hear that on the news at all. Okay, I don't know why, but I don't want you to know that. And this whole theory about this is just Democrat judges and Democrat Schumer or Nancy Pelosi and all that. Well, these documents are back from 2011 before Trump was talking about running for president. So I don't know how, maybe they have a time travel portal too, or maybe they use the Opperman report time travel portal. But the thing is, you see all over Twitter right now, what do they call that? Trending, right? They call it on Twitter, right? Twitter is so important to life, is about Trump smells. Trump smells bad. And I told you the story about how I had friends there at the courthouse every day and who smell Trump walking by, man. And the guy's incontinent. He wears a diaper. You could smell it. And if you look at the photos of the lawyers standing next to him when he's ranting and raving, like I rant and rave right now, you can see the look on their faces, man. You can see the look on Melania's face. You can see the look on a lot of people's faces when they're standing next to Trump that there's an odor. Okay, I've never smelt it myself, but I've heard about it. So that's the time travel portal with the Opperman report back to today, 12/22/23. Vic's not coming home for Christmas this year. It'll be like the first year in a long time. Oh, God. This is just unbelievable. If anybody could see my email, you'd flip out. Well, that's Epstein list unsealed. Was there anything else I wanted to tell you about that? Yeah, forget the island. These names are going to be, there's not going to be any big surprises in there. I think they're going to name, one of the names in here, okay, is going to be Ivana Trump, okay? Now, let's see how that goes over. And I really hope it's not just a list of names, that it's in context with the court paperwork, that we could see how these names fit in. Not everybody who was associated with Epstein was molesting and raping children, okay? That I can tell you. All right, there were people around him that were not raping children. I don't think there were many people, if any people, that did not know that he was raping children and did not know that he had people around him procuring children for him and his friends to rape, okay? Because when you went into the house in Palm Beach, you look at the search warrant affidavit, there are pictures of nude women, children all over the walls. So anybody who went to visit that house had to know what was going on. Plus, he was running around with young kids all the time. I got a new sponsor. I'm going to be doing live reads. Won't that be fun? Won't that be fun? Bungled. Okay. Jonathan Odie. Okay. Jonathan Odie. Talked about this a little bit last week. Jonathan Odie is this fellow who ran into, we first hear about Jonathan Odie because he runs into Trump Doral golf course in Miami and starts getting to a shootout. He puts up an American flag and he's screaming, Trump makes his money from gas. Trump makes his money from gas. Now you got to remember, and he gets into a shootout with the cops. He gets shot 3 times, this guy. Okay, and he's in pretty good shape, man. When he's being interrogated, he's in pretty good shape. You know, God bless him. Now, when he's talking about Trump making his money from gas, remember I used to do those shows? We did about 4 or 5 shows about Rosneft, the Russian energy company, and how we believe that Trump was making money from that, brokering that money. I had that, Grant Stern, who's a Miami broadcaster. On the show, we talked to him about it. And I had Graham... I forget his name, but that guy Graham, who wrote the book about Maggie's Hammer, which is all about Robert Maxwell and Ari Ben-Banash, and about a lot of interesting stuff in that book. And he knew the Rosneft story too, okay? And the reason why stories like Rosneft are covered up is because these Russian oligarchs with all this money are paying off the FBI. We just got that, right? Didn't that just happen? Okay, you know, it's like that Opperman talking about this. It just happened. The guy, you know, was going to prison, you know, just pled guilty. Hey. But we talked about Trump getting paid. So I think when my show was playing over there in Miami, where this guy, Jonathan Odie, lived, I have a feeling Jonathan Odie was listening to my show for several reasons. Now, Jonathan Odie, you can see his interrogation video where he's talking to Secret Service agents. And he's talking about how he got an NDA settlement from P. Diddy, from Puff Daddy Sean Puffy Combs. And Puff Daddy's involved in all kind of drug smuggling on his private planes. And Jonathan Odie used to dance at this club where there was a website and video streaming you could watch called Dancing Bear. And he was a heterosexual dancing for women, but I guess men watched too. And he said that P. Diddy used to have him sleep or have sex with his wife, Cassie, his girlfriend, Cassie, who's now suing him, making those same allegations that Puff Daddy was forcing her to have sex with his friends, which is exactly what Jonathan Odie is claiming in this video from way back in 2017. See, Odie's on tape talking about this in 2017. Cassie, P. Diddy's girlfriend, files a lawsuit in 2023. This video does not get released until after that. So it kind of confirms and corroborates what Cassie is saying about P. Diddy. Now, I'm not a big rapper guy. I know all the names and the nicknames and all stuff. So you got to forgive me as far as that goes. And a lot of the reporting about this is in that rapper community group where they're just a bunch of clowns and acting foolish on YouTube. And they're circulating information. A lot of it's inaccurate and incorrect. Now, I'm hearing that this Dancing Bear joint, okay, you know who else used to associate with that place? Remember that guy that was bombing, the pipe bomber guy with all the Democrats who was mailing those pipe bombs around? And it just turned out that his lawyer was friends with A.J. Weberman, okay? And that it also turned out that this pipe bomber guy had his photograph taken with Michael Simonet, Mike the Black Man, Blacks for Trump, Maurice Simonet, that guy that I interviewed. Small world here at the Opperman Report, okay? So that guy, that bomber guy was hanging out with these people, too. And they're hearing, too, a lot of cops used to hang out at this joint, too. Now, Jonathan Odie gets a lot of information correct. He talks about, by the way, too, we can kind of confirm, too, that Jonathan Odie, I was going to do a lot more research on this, but like I said, I've been sick all week long, and I didn't even know today was Friday. I thought today was Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm still trying to schedule that big historic interview. The interview is still in the works. The delay, the issue that caused the delay has now been taken care of. Now we got to deal with this Christmas holiday, and then we'll get into this thing with this guy. It's exclusive. This is a story you're going to know about right away. Other people involved with the story have been killed, died, suicides, all kind of shenanigans, okay? And I'm the guy directly involved, okay? It's a big story that I'm working on for you, okay? And you can thank me by joining Patreon for $3 a month. Okay. And man, dude, after I'm gone, anybody out there, man, Ed was the GOAT. I hope you choke on those words, man. Okay. I get no support for doing what I do. Okay. Jonathan Odie in this tape with the Secret Service. He starts talking about a lot of stuff he starts talking about the Illuminati and different branches of the Illuminati and P. Diddy drinking this liquid cocaine and stuff like that. And he knows all these stories. And he talks about how he got a settlement from P. Diddy, an NDA type settlement, not to talk about having sex with his wife and all that kind of stuff. Now, Odie's wife was an attorney herself. A month after their divorce, Odie's running out and he's buying all these properties, these auction properties and distressed properties all over Florida. Suddenly came into a ton of money, okay, that he didn't have in his financial statements, financial affidavit of financial disclosure, affidavit of financial condition, affidavit of financial condition that during his divorce, okay. He did not list these assets in his divorce, and his wife was an attorney. You'd think she'd be looking for that money if the money existed. So we know he went out and bought a bunch of properties. He came into money somehow. He claims he came into money from P. Diddy. He doesn't say that money came from P. Diddy, but he says he came into money from P. Diddy. So that's accurate. Now he starts talking about some wacky theories about how Trump got the Electoral College, and the Electoral College isn't normally Republican. That's nonsense. That's crap. That doesn't make sense at all. That's not how the Electoral College works. And it sounds like that's something he heard Trump rambling on about, and he just believes it because he's not that stable. He's not that, he's kind of crazy, this guy. All right. So there's all that too, right? Now get this, man. All this happened like 2017, 2018, the shootout. This guy's, I assumed when I first got the name, I go looking in the Florida Department of Corrections to see where he's in prison. I'm assuming he's got a confession. Okay, I'm assuming the guy's been convicted. The case is over. And that only makes sense. I can't find him in the Florida Department of Corrections. I said, well, maybe there's some other way they're holding this guy. Some kind of deal going on. He's an informant, protective custody, and they're holding him someplace else. Let me look. I start going to the Miami-Dade County Jail website, and I go there, and I can't look anything up on there for days because the site is down. When you go to search, it says you can't find anything here because the sites come back in a little while and try again. Finally, then what happens is this. All these rapper YouTube channels, right? And like I said, mostly like clown shows. Where are we? Only 36 minutes. Time travel. We've traveled back in time on the Opera Report tonight, and we've lost time. While all this is going on, and I'm looking for his information to find out where he's in custody or find out the disposition of this shooting case, right? These YouTubers start reporting that he's dead. And when I'm looking him up, suddenly there's all these online obituaries talking about that Odie is dead. Now, these are online obituaries and not newspapers or publications. There's these online obituary websites. And the eulogy or the flowery language describing Mr. Odie and all these different websites, they're described, you know, the different articles, the different, what am I trying to say? Patreon, I'm trying to say patronage or accolades with that they're laying out there. There was all the same flowery speech pattern, okay, very similar, but they're all written by different names, okay, and they're all anonymous. You know, these are anybody can go on and create any name you want and say, and no one's talking about him being in jail, the shooting, none of this. It's all about, oh, what a great man he was, and blah blah blah, kindness, and everybody loved him. So I looked at this right away, and I says, well, these things are bogus. They look suspicious. I contacted Odie's attorney to find out if he's dead or not. What I find out then is that the case, get this, man, this open and shut shooting case from 2017 is ongoing. He has not been convicted yet. And not only that, he's got a hearing coming up in January. I think it's just a status check, though. It's like not even a real hearing. They got some discovery issues going on. I don't know what discovery you would need, but the biggest anomaly in this litigation is the number of subpoenas. There's got to be 120 subpoenas, and they're in on different dates. There's like another 30, another 20, another 50, months apart. They're just subpoenaing people like crazy. Now, I can't tell from looking it over whether it's defense or the prosecution. In Florida, you can really get all this information. I got to be honest with you. I thought today was Wednesday. Okay. I plan to do some more on this. And like I said, I've been sick every night. So I'm going to be sick tonight when I go to bed. Okay. I lost like 25 pounds. My arm is withering away or nothing. Anyway. I can't understand, and they all have Spanish names too. I can't understand why they're subpoenaing all these people. And I looked in this for some famous names like P. Diddy, Trump, anything like that. There's nothing like that I could find in there. They seem to be like, I don't know, friends of his, what? I don't know who they are, what's going on. But there's a ton of stuff going on there. Now, so where do we stand now? We have this fellow, Jonathan Odie, with a lot of weird connections to a lot of weird people. Okay. Now, he knows, too, by the way, this is not well known, that Michael Avenatti and Mark Geragos were close friends. Very few people know that. Okay. And the charges that got Michael Avenatti 14 years in prison, okay, which I intimately know that whole deal. I have 2 clients and a friend testifying against Trump in the Stormy Daniels trial in New York State coming up March 24th. Okay. Look up Scrappy P.I., Ed Opperman, Scrappy P.I., Spreaker. Well, I got that whole story up and down. I know the whole thing. Okay. And Geragos was partners in that deal. I think he was trying to shake down Nike or the basketball or some kind of sports league or something like that. Geragos was his partner in that deal. Their names were both of their names were on all the paperwork. Avenatti's going to prison. Geragos doesn't even get a traffic ticket. So, okay, not a lot of people know that because it's no one lets you get a fine anywhere. By the way, full disclosure, I never worked for Mark Geragos, but Geragos did refer clients to me way back during the Scott Peterson case. Okay, he had heard about me during Scott Peterson, and he referred clients to me. But I've never met Geragos. I've never spoken to Geragos. I've never worked for Geragos. Okay, but there was that connection. We did refer some clients. Now, let's see how we're doing. I think I might be wiped out. Trump Supreme Court. I didn't talk about that yet, did I? Let me check. Okay. There's some kind of surprise, okay, that Colorado Supreme Court ruled that Trump is not allowed on the ballot in Colorado, okay, in the 2024 November election. And this is being reported like this is some kind of wild surprise and what's going on here. Oh, my goodness. But if you listen to the Opperman report, I've been following this trial in Colorado since October 30th, 2023, from the first day. And when I first watched the opening statements and I watched the trial proceeding here, right away, and they were showing all this information from the January 6th committee and videos and all this information about how Trump was responsible for the insurrection, okay, on January 6th. And I was watching this, and I saw Trump's defense was, and I talked about it on the air. So this, this isn't a time travel thing. You can go back and listen to the shows, okay? And I posted the links. I must have posted the link to those live hearings about 6 or 7 times. And a couple of times I even said, hey, people really need to watch this because Trump's going to lose. And when he does, everyone's going to be running around screaming about how they were Democrats and there was no trial and Trump didn't get a fair trial when you could watch it, okay? And I must have said that 10 times. Trump's defense in this thing was sleepy, lazy, and weak. Okay? So they put on a lot of good evidence that Trump was responsible for the insurrection. Okay? So now there's a lot of people running around now saying, well, look at this video, this YouTube video of Trump telling the January 6 people to go away peacefully. This is the evidence here that's going to overturn this case right now. They played that. Okay? They showed that evidence to the judge. Okay? That's done. You're breaking evidence now that every time I post this on YouTube, it gets deleted in 1 minute. Well, I don't think they played it. It's on YouTube still. If you Google Colorado Trump ballot trial, okay. All right, October 30th starting. All right, so now when I saw this coming, I saw this thing coming. Then it winds up in the Colorado Supreme Court December 6th. Now that went on for 2 weeks, and let me tell you something, man. All these arguments that you're hearing now by these legal scholars like Mark Levin and Jeffrey Epstein's pal Alan Dershowitz saying, well, the people should have the right to vote. The people should decide at the ballot whether you get to vote or not. No. The issue here is the 14th Amendment, which says that if you've been involved in an insurrection, you're not allowed to run for president. Your name cannot be on the ballot. I think they can write in the name, but he's going to lose. Okay? So that's what the issue was that was before the Supreme Court. And when you watch the Colorado Supreme Court hearings, there's like 4-5 Supreme Court justices up there and several lawyers for both sides. And this questioning back and forth. And these questions were debated by sober, impartial people. You go to Conway, what's his name? George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband. He said when he read the dissenting opinions that he believes that even in this stacked Supreme Court we got right now where people like Clarence Thomas are getting, $100 bills, it's raining on, like a strip joint. Like Clarence Thomas, like a stripper on a Saturday night, with all these $100 bills raining down on his head. And by the way, too, what's that connection again? Oh, yeah, the guy who was funding Clarence Thomas, right? I forget his name right now, but you can go back. I did shows about this, too. That guy, he's involved in a huge case right now, a sex trafficking case with this woman, and she names strip joints, she names cops that were involved in all this, and she's suing him. That guy who's been funding Clarence Thomas with all these vacations and Winnebagos and buying houses for his family and mortgages and all this kind of stuff, that guy was friends with Prince Andrew and Fergie and offered them a place to live. Okay, he offered them a place to live. That's how close he is to them. All right. What a cesspool this whole thing is, man. But you don't hear any of this stuff anywhere, man. I'm disgusted. And there's people out there that should know better. There's people out there that should know better. They know what I'm talking about, this Epstein stuff with this list and this island nonsense, man. But that's the popular crap, and they just put it out there because it's popular. Maybe this is why I'm dying. I get too upset. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to be following up on his Jonathan Odie stuff some more, but if you just Google Jonathan Odie, you can find all of this. Hey, I got something I want to talk to you about. I got a really good friend of mine. In fact, she was a guest on this show once. Her name is Courtney, and she's been for quite a while now. She's been having these horrible seizures. I think I talked about it one night before, and I asked you to pray for her. I'm really begging you guys to pray for my friend. She's been very and supportive with me lately with my own issues, and very inspiring to me too. Now, she's been having these horrible seizures like you wouldn't believe. I've seen videos of them. They're just horrific. But she's got a great attitude about it and very positive attitude toward the whole thing. And just tonight, we found out that her doctors have decided that they're going to do this kind of surgery. They're going to be putting electrodes into her head and some type of device to drain fluid from her brain. Okay? So I'm asking you, please, man, if you've ever done anything for me, if you've ever cared about anything in my life, okay, all right, it's to pray for Courtney about all this, too, that she has a great outcome with this situation here. Okay, and pray for the doctors, too, because I'm a little concerned that these doctors in Tennessee are a bunch of hillbillies. Okay. And, going to be using their vittles, to be cutting in there like Granny or Ellie Mae Clampett down there. God, Zooks, I'm exhausted. Well, 48 minutes. Let's see. Any questions in the chat room I can fill up some time with, or what? He's going to put me out of my misery tonight. Let me go. Coming up after this will be, I don't know if I want to play the IRA story first, Dan Lawton, or if I want to play this, it's a really good show. Yeah, that one about Anthony Feinstein, Moral Courage, 19 Profiles of an Investigative Journalist. So, and by the way, if I've played that IRA story first, if I played it already, let me know, and I won't play it again. Maybe I have my crack producer in the chat room right now. Maybe he would know if I played it, or he's probably snoring away by now. Let's think. What else? Really, guys, man, I need help with the TikToks and the Reels. Especially now, we only have a few more days left in Christmas time. And this is when the highest advertising rate money is. I got a live read thing coming up, and maybe that'll put some money in my pocket. I don't know. But if we can do Reels and TikToks using audio from the interviews and some video that I have, where you take news footage and newspaper clippings and use those as still images, and then we put the audio up together, especially this big historic show I have coming up. The guy's never done an interview before, and this is a story that goes back for decades. It's one of the big stories, okay? And so what we're doing here, look, abuse me all you want, okay? I know what I'm doing, and the way I got that interview, okay, is because people that are well-respected people that are really out there doing stuff know what I'm doing. All right, but I need help, man. I need help on these little things, man. I got some people that help me. They give me great help. You have no idea. But with the TikToks and the Reels, I need help with that. If I can find someone to help me, I would greatly appreciate that. Support us on Patreon. It's always a big help. Support us on Patreon. Put a little bit of coin in our pockets here. Got a big slew of shows coming up about LSD. I'm like looking at like lining up like 3 or 4 guests. There's a great show in the Patreon about the Southern Baptist Church sex abuse, and that's an exclusive interview I had with him. And if you listen to this fellow's story, when he was a child, being molested at these Royal Rangers things, it's pretty intense stuff. So keep an eye out for that. And I think I just taped something too. No, I guess that's everything. Everything I taped. Oh, Everett Stern. Yeah, Everett Stern always has good content. And he's in the mix. He testified too at January 6th. Lev Parnas testified for January 6th. And Lev Parnas testified about the Ukraine impeachment with Trump. Lev Parnas is probably going to be testifying on the Hunter Biden stuff. And Patrick Berge testified before January 6th. So, we got the real people. This isn't, I'm not taking clips from YouTube and saying, oh, look at this. Look what we discovered. Oh, look at that picture of this guy walking funny, throwing a rock. These are real guys involved. And they come here because they respect my work. And they come here because they can't every other show out there is either plugging the Democrats or plugging the Republicans, and I'm right smack in the middle of all this. Oh, by the way, too, there's one last thing. This clown came up with this bill tonight that's going to get Biden off the ballot. That's not going anywhere, man. That's nonsense. Everybody who's thinking that, all these things are going to be overturned. This is just crazy wishful thinking. And by the way, too, man, we didn't even get into this, but Trump got his head handed to him by that Ergen, that lawyer, that judge in the fraud trial in New York, man. He just got his head handed to him in a decision, calling his main witness that he paid $900,000 to like a waste of time and a waste of money because it's just ridiculous. Guys, that's going to be a huge hit. And I'm telling you guys, March 24th, that's going to be the first criminal conviction. Okay, keep an eye out for that. All right, guys, I'm done. I'm exhausted, and I'm going to bed. Okay, you're not going to have Ed Opera to kick around anymore. Okay, let's see what I've got here. Everyone is gone.